I'm in East Perth Station, Western Australia, waiting to start a journey I've been looking forward to for years. This is the Great Southern Railway's Indian Pacific. From west to east, Perth to Sydney, the Indian to the Pacific Ocean. A trans-Australian journey will always be a special experience, but having crossed this vast country the hard way already, I can't wait to soak it up in a more relaxed fashion. I checked in my bag on arrival at the station and freely wandered the platform, taking in the 19 carriages of a train measuring over half a kilometre in length. I've always loved long-distance train travel. That crackle of electricity, anticipation and emotion at each station. The romantic and addictive sensation of going somewhere, heightened by the patient hum of engines and the gentle, rhythmic clickety-clack of progress. These narrow sleeper train corridors always bring a smile. I feel like I'm in a 1960s film rolling back the ages. Give me a way to travel that involves having a kip at the same time, and you're on to a winner. For the next 4 days and 3 nights, this will be my home. I'm travelling Gold Service, which means not only do I have my own cabin with a comfy fold-down bed and an ensuite bathroom, but inclusive food and drink throughout the journey. It takes less than an hour for the Indian Pacific to leave the city behind, break out of the Perth suburbs and trundle into the countryside. Each time I arrive in Australia, I'm filled with nostalgia. My first visit here was slightly out of the ordinary, mainly because I crossed the country by skateboard. For the first couple of weeks of that trip in 2006, I was conscious of the train tracks running close to the Great Eastern Highway, which connects Perth with the outback. And since then I've always wanted to ride across Oz by train. And not just because it was going to be far easier than skating. On the first evening, the Indian Pacific pulls into the mining town of Kalgoorlie, one of the 4 stops the train makes en route to Sydney. And the next morning I woke to the sun rising over the trump card of this entire voyage, the Nullarbor Plain. 200,000 square kilometres of flat, limestone bedrock. This is one of my favourite areas on the planet. Empty, desolate, yet ever-changing, the only other place you'll find skies this big is in the middle of the ocean. Each of the train's windows become a screen, memories from my past streaming by. Engaging as a campfire, I spent hours staring out lost in thought, remembering my battles against the road, that never-ending quest for a far-off horizon, that relentless heat. Which of course isn't an issue on the Indian Pacific, thank goodness, although our second stop at Cook, South Australia, did offer an hour of exposure. Cook is a tiny settlement in the heart of the desert, once a support station for the transcontinental trains and home to a tiny bush hospital. It now has a population of just 4, and it's clear that the inhabitants enjoy that famous, dry desert humour. Back on the tracks again, cattle, camels, emu, kangaroo and eagles became the norm. Remote airfields and ghost towns are worthy head-turners. It wasn't until the next morning that we saw trees again. It took me 2 months to skate from Perth to Adelaide, but just 2 days for the Indian Pacific to roll into the capital of South Australia. This is the longest stop on the eastbound journey, and a chance to explore Adelaide's wonderful central market. Each mealtime the company is different, an opportunity to share and enjoy new stories in the dining car, along with a good bottle of wine. Afterwards, more drinks in one of the Indian Pacific's lounges, each one named after an intrepid Australian explorer. East of Adelaide, the countryside begins to change. No longer is the landscape flat and open. Farmland turns to hills, the colours adapt. We rumble past the Blue Mountains. The great service, kaleidoscopic views and familiar sounds and movement of the train all created an atmosphere designed for relaxation. It was almost as though 3 whole days had disappeared by the time we stopped briefly in Broken Hill and then continued on for one last overnight run towards the east coast. Seeing Australia from such a unique perspective is a true privilege, and if you, like many of my companions on this journey, give life some direction by ticking off items from a bucket list, I strongly suggest you add to it the Indian Pacific. Without doubt, this is one of the finest train journeys in the world.